Today is just going to be so awesome because I know that my buddy Blake is ready to bring it, and it's so awesome to see the growth in Blake over the past year and a half, and his leadership. He just continues to raise the bar. He raises the bar on me. I know he raises the bar on everybody else around. And what's really awesome is to see the people that he is surrounded with, that he's actually pouring back into, and those individuals that are really rising up and leading in a really positive way. But he's had the opportunity to learn from one of the best in his father. And so this man walks a great life every single day. And so I'm just going to bring up my buddy, Mr. Blake Goad.
Thanks, guys. Can we give Josh a round of applause, guys? Woo! That was as one of our G5ers says, Junior, that was the best introduction I've had all day. Junior, that was a shout out to Junior. But y'all doing awesome today? I'm gonna get a sip of water here. I'm so hyped to be at G5 leadership. It used to be weekly, but I think people, this is gonna sound weird, but took it for granted because it was here every week. But I'm so thankful we did it once a month because people actually look forward to it being once a month. So I'm super hyped for this and for this to be here. So, of course, I got to start out with a joke. So this one comes from a friend of mine, and I promised him I would share it. So I got to do it, right? So this golfer went golfing, and he got a brand new box of golf balls. And he's on the tee box, and he's looking across, and to the first tee, and he's looking. The hole's got water and sand traps all around the fairway and the green. And the guy's looking at the golf balls, and he takes one out and puts it on the tee. And he's looking, and he starts taking some practice swings, and he's like, no, I'm going to hit my dirty balls. The way I'm swinging today, I'm going to lose my good golf balls. He puts the golf balls, back in his golf bag, and he hears this voice, and this voice goes, where's your faith? And he's looking around like, where's my faith? He goes, okay. So he puts the new golf ball back on the tee, and he takes a couple more practice swings, and all of a sudden the voice goes, never mind, put the other ones back. Put the old golf balls back. And I love it, right? Because how many of you know you got to trust in other people's faith, but sometimes you need a friend that comes up and goes, hey, that faith may be good, but the swing ain't. So, right? So I thought that was a good lead-in to what I'm talking about today. Because what I'm talking about today is I'm going to break the word faith down. Faith. And you're thinking, why are you talking about faith at a leadership setting? And how many of you know, I believe that one of the biggest things to be a leader is to have faith. And y'all are going to laugh at me, but the first point I'm going to give you, the F in faith, stands for faith. And you're thinking, well, that's like a double-edged sword there, Blake. It's kind of weird. Why are you telling us the F in faith stands for faith? Well, how many of you know people need to be reinforced to know that if you don't have the faith in it, at least you need a friend that has the faith. So one of the biggest things growing up is how many of you ever walked through a hard time? I've walked through a few hard times. I got a couple bruises on my back I ain't going to show you. My sister's very thankful. But how many of you know through those hard times, I was so thankful that I had friends and family that came beside me and said, even in the hard times in your life, and you don't have the faith to stand up for the next day, we have the faith for you to carry you through it. And how many of you know the courage of those friends and those family members saying, we got the faith for you, gave me faith to continue another day? And I believe that one of the biggest acts of faith that ever happened was Jesus dying on the cross. And we've been watching this show lately called The Chosen. It's a really good show. If you haven't watched it, I encourage you to go watch it. But it was funny. I was telling the people we were watching the show with, and when you watch documentaries and historical things, you're like, oh man, it would have been cool to meet that person, right? And for some reason, when I was watching the show, it's so well done that I was like, oh man, it would have been cool to meet Jesus. And in my head, I'm like, wait, that sounds wrong. Because even though God is in the past, he's in the future. He's here today. And having the faith to go, I can trust that I know he's here beside me all the time. It takes faith. And I love watching, if you haven't watched it, go watch it, but they're going through how Jesus found his disciples. And one of the disciples was Matthew. And I didn't know that Matthew was a unique dude. Like, I knew he was unique, but they portrayed him in a unique way. Matthew's got like little quirks and all that. Like, I'm like, dude, chill out. Like, and he's so unique. But here's what I found out. And how many of you know you know stuff, but until you forget it, you need to be reminded of it. That God loves unique people. God loves misfits. God loves crazy people. Thank God I'm crazy. There was I found a post on my social media the other day, and it was a photo of Jack Sparrow, and he goes, crazy people don't know they're crazy. Therefore, I'm not crazy. Isn't that crazy? But how many of you know Jesus knew those people were crazy enough if he just asked them to step out on faith that they would follow him? So I need some friends. How many of you know we all need friends that are crazy enough to give us the faith we need? The faith. The A, I'm going to go very fast here today because I want to bring my father up. The A in faith stands for appreciation. Appreciation. How many of you know I believe one of the greatest things in life is people need to know that you care about them and they're appreciated. How many of you know just a smile shows appreciation? And I love, when you're driving down the highway, wherever you're from, here it's I-4. And we have a stretch of I-4 from this exit all the way past Celebration, which is called the tourist trap. Because we got Disney, SeaWorld, Universal. But how many of you know you get all those people trying to find the mouse? And they want to tell you you're number one because you won't let them get over to the mouse. And we're like, well, it ain't my fault you didn't see the exit in time. But they want to give you the middle finger, tell you you're number one, right? But how many of you know... we have a G5 here, and him and I were driving one day, and this lady was so mad. We were coming out here, and she cut us off. And all I did was smile and wave at her and let her go in front of me. And you would have thought I had killed her. It was like death to her. She was like, you've got to be kidding me. You were being nice to me? She was cussing us out. I was like, honey, I'll let you go. But how do you know that people just need to know that you care, and no matter how they react to it, show them you care. How many of you need to go to a restaurant? We love G5 here. We like to eat, right? So we go to restaurants. When we're out going to restaurants, one of the biggest things that we love to do is find out about the waiter or waitress and where they're from. Do you have sisters? Do you have brothers? We ask questions. And what I love is to watch the waiters and waitresses react to people asking questions. Because they're not used to people asking questions. All they're used to people doing is, number one, if they do ask a question, is about the menu, not about them. And I believe some of the biggest changes in people's life is when you get out of yourself and what you're doing and get into their world. That shows appreciation. Appreciation. And I was thinking about it yesterday. One of the biggest ways I believe you can show appreciation is how many of you know, you can go up to somebody and say, dude, you're awesome. Or, girl, you're on fire right now. You're killing it. But how many of you know you're like, oh, I told her she was killing it 20 minutes ago. She doesn't need to hear it again. I believe the biggest thing we do in life is we tell people we appreciate them, but we don't think we need to do it more than maybe once an hour. I believe people need to know they care all the time. That they matter all the time. Because how many of you know you can tell somebody that they appreciate you, but you got to reinforce it over and over and over and over again until they believe it. And then even though they believe it, you still got to keep doing it. Because how many of you know people can put on a good face and act like they're good, but that doesn't mean they're good. Showing appreciation, showing love. So the I in faith stands for integrity. Integrity. My mom and sister are freaking out right now because I'm dyslexic, and they're like, I hope he spelled this right. And here's what I tell people. If I spelled it wrong, I'm sorry, it's not your fault. I'm just going with it. Hey, how do you know everybody's behavior makes sense to themselves? It's the truth. But integrity. And one of the ways that I believe integrity is shown is doing the right thing at the right time for the right reasons. And I love what my dad always says, when nobody else is looking. Nobody else is looking. I love this. How many of you know closed-minded leaders will close other leaders' minds? Dropping the mic. Sometimes smart men lack wisdom. I got that from the Chosen TV show. I got to get credit. But, my dad always said, the first time you say it, give credit where you got it. The second time, make it your own. Well, this is the first time I said it, so I had to give credit. Jesus got some wisdom. But one of the enemies of wisdom is feelings. And how many of you know integrity is not always doing what you feel? I struggle with that so much. How many of you know you don't feel like getting up and going and working out? Or you don't feel like eating correctly. Like my dad says, he wants to go get a Big Mac. Right? I love golf. But how many of you know if I need to get better at golf, I can't just go play around at golf. I got to go on the driving range for hours and practice. So Mr. Harold is one of our amazing G5ers, and him and I, we probably go golfing, we probably go, once a month, twice a month, something like that? And we love it. But here's what we always tell each other before we go out. We're like, we're going to hit a few balls in the range, but we ain't good. So we call it breakfast balls. We get breakfast balls on every hole. But how many of you know those breakfast balls, we take food with us to eat with the breakfast balls, so it tastes good when we hit them bad? You all are like, that don't make no sense. It makes sense to me. Leave me in my joy. Come on. But integrity, doing the right thing at the right time for the right reasons. Bacon, egg, and cheese. There you go. We go play at Disney, and I love the line they say. It's welcome to the happiest place on turf. I'm like, oh, boy. I mean, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. But I love it. But how many of you know, have you ever heard of Walt Disney? Kind of a big deal, right? If you ever heard of him, we got a problem, right? But I love what Walt Disney did. This is probably not the greatest example, but I loved that his thought process went here. So Walt Disney smoked. And he made sure that none of his team players knew that he smoked. Now, the obvious thing would be to stop, right? But him to go, I don't want my team seeing me doing something I shouldn't do, so I'm going to do it when I don't want them knowing that I have a bad habit. To go that far to make my team succeed, I'm going to make sure that they don't copy the bad habits I have. Wow. That's amazing. I'm going to say it backwards. Wow. It's good. Thank you for laughing. I appreciate that. That's awesome. But the T in faith stands for thankful. And you're thinking, well, you just covered it. But how many of you know I said that it has to be repeated? Being grateful for people, being appreciated, tell them that they matter, thanking them for what they do is so important. So important. I have so many friends that I see every week, and they come up on, I have a friend and he texts me every single morning of the week. And I can tell you exactly what the text is going to say. But I know, I am thankful that he does it because he doesn't know that him sending that message of encouragement every morning helps me out through the rest of the day. Just showing encouragement. And it could be it could be the simplest thing of him just saying, hey bro, love you. But how many of you know him saying love me makes me feel so much better about myself going out through the day. And finally, I'm going to end with the thankful. And wait, no, faith. Not in thankful. Caught myself there. That was good. It's hope. Hope. And I love what Mother Teresa said. And Arnold Palmer kind of copied her in it. Have you ever heard of Arnold Palmer? But they simply said, well, the greatest things in life is when you can do for others and they can't give it back to you. Giving hope when it's needed. And don't expect anything in return. Anything in return. And I believe one of the greatest stories of hope, and I'm going to end on this, is there was this guy, and he was homeless, and he lived on the street. And, grew up and drug addict and carried a gun, and they called this guy the scum of the earth. Scum of the earth. How many of you know calling people names isn't the greatest thing? So it makes you feel who you like. The names start getting a hold of you, right? Till this guy came across the street one day and said, if you spend the night, go to church with us, you can have the bedroom in our house and eat a hot meal tonight. Well, this guy didn't care about a hoot about church, but a meal in a bed sounded great, right? How many of you know food and sleeping on a bed sounds awesome? So this guy went to church, and the first time he heard in the back of the building, he heard the scripture, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that who shall ever believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life, right? I believe that scripture is the greatest hope scripture of all time. And he heard that, and he went home. He went to the couple's house, and he spent the night. And he said he laid in bed, and he felt the first thing that he hadn't felt in a long time was a full stomach. And he said a lighter grated in the room came into the room. And it was God saying, hey, would you give me your life, and I'll change it. So he did. Well, come to find out later, said, many years later, he got married and had 7 kids. And, he taught those kids about the Bible, and he trained them up in the way they should go and got them into ministry. And one day, the mom passed away in a van accident. And then 5 years later, the dad passed away in a burning stove. The house blew up. And I remember the day that my father set me down and told me that was my grandfather. And that gave me hope. My grandfather wasn't perfect, y'all. I'm not perfect. My dad's not perfect. But how many of you know him just accepting somebody's invitation gave 2 generations hope for the future? That's why we here at G5 we say we're 3 generational. 3 generational. Because I want to carry the legacy that my grandfather had, that he got given. That's why we're coming after the kids' kids. We love y'all, but we love your kids, and we love your kids' kids. We love your kids' kids. Way down there. It got so confusing, I lost track where I was at. But how many of you know hope is an amazing thing? So I want to thank you all for letting me come up and talk. I hope that was helpful. I'm going to just bring my amazing, amazing, amazing father up here. If it wasn't for this guy, I wouldn't be here. A lot of you will catch that later. But this guy has taught me so much. I'm going to bring him up before I start crying, because if not, I'm going to start crying. So I love this man. Would you please help me welcome my amazing father, Tim Goode?
Dude, come here. That was ridiculous, man. All right. A couple more times and I won't have to show up. The plan is working out. You know what I'm talking about? I'm so glad you're here today. I want to say thank you to our technical people. Gosh, Spence and Seth, thank you. You continually pull off the impossible. This is coming out today, and last night my wife and I did something called date night. First time ever. It was the bomb. We had so much fun. My wife made me look good, which she's been doing for a lot of years, and I'm grateful for that. I am a little upset because when I go out with her, people think she's my daughter instead of my wife. I'm like, surgery's in my future. I just want to let you know that. Just pull that back, way back there, and I'm going to be beautiful. I am excited about spending a few minutes with you. I love having guests here. Thank you. A lot of people have moved online during this whole situation, so I love intimacy, and I love when we can get together, and it gives me more time to be one-on-one with a leader. I believe that when you touch a leader, you change the world, and we're going to change the world one leader at a time. And everybody I bump into has a destiny. Everybody I bump into has a calling. We've got something coming up here called Elevate in May that I'm very excited about, 14th, 15th, and 16th. And I hope you're planning on that. I'm so privileged to have so many friends around the globe that get on these calls. I think we were figuring out last night, at a minimum, we had about 400 people on this date night call, and that excites me. Before my wife and I started, it was kind of overwhelming because I was going, oh, the weight of relationships are so critical. And how many of you know that in leadership and in life, that very, very many times in our lives, we don't understand how powerful the moment that we're in is. And so the moment that you're in right now is way more powerful than you know. And I just want to encourage you in this moment to reconnect with your dream, to reconnect with your vision, to reconnect with your reason, to reconnect with your why. And I think life beats our ability to dream and have vision out of us. I think reality and circumstances and situations and pain and disappointment have a way, if we're not careful, to just absolutely steal our futures from us. And I just want to encourage you to make a decision today as a leader to go back to that. I know you're focused on financials. I know you're focused on your strategies. I know you're focused on your plans. And I agree with that. I think you need to be the best at who you are, at what you do, and the how of what you do. Do not be messy and lazy in learning the how. So don't think when I talk to you about visions and dreams, I'm going, don't be the best at who you are. Just because you see where you want to go does not give you and I the reason or the excuse to be messy where we are. And I want to encourage you right now to get strong in your how. Be the best. Don't wait for people around you to be the best. Be the best and watch what happens, because the best will begin to happen to you. And so we around here have a behavior that we really pound on a lot, and that's whatever you see, whatever you do, whenever you show up, make it better. Make it better. Make it better. Don't wait for somebody else to make it better. We've done that for too long. Let's make it better. You see, I'm going to tell you right now, some of you listening to me today, right now, your next promotion is connected to your not waiting for somebody else to make it better. He who is faithful in the little, the much will happen in your life. Matter of fact, I think I could talk to you today about the fact that some of you right now, you're preparing here, you're here, but your blessing is here. And some of us right now are telling God why I need to just stay comfortable right here. And you've got to leave here in order to get here. And nothing about that is going to be comfortable. Have you ever been in a place in your life where people treated you like you were 20 years ago, but you're not that person anymore? Because they're not comfortable with the new you, with the new blessing. You see, Peter had been fishing all night long, and he hadn't caught anything. But Jesus comes along and he says, lower your nets. Ladies and gentlemen, the price of obedience is when you don't understand the instruction, you still do it. That's the price of it. And so right now, even last night as we talked about relationships and we talk about communication, you can be right here in your knowledge, but you really need to get here. How are you going to get from here to here unless you get a teacher and a mentor in your life? You can't do it. You've got to have somebody that's living and working. And I don't think there's anything worse on this planet. We'll talk about it in a second, where people keep treating you and they defend their treating you like you're here when God elevated you here. Now, I got to tell you, the more you're elevated, the more humble, the more kind, the more gentle, the more serving you should become. The greatest among you will be the servant of all. But I got a question for you. Why is it that the best keep getting better? Why is it that you get mad? I get mad because somebody is blessed, because whatever they're doing it with excellence, but they're going to get better. Where do you find that hunger that can only come from the inside? Where do you find it? You see, there's outside motivation. I want you to motivate me. I want you to make me feel good. I want you to inspire me. Ladies and gentlemen, don't get mad. My name is Tim. I love you. That is the lowest form of motivation on the planet. The highest form of motivation is that inside of me is a dream and a vision and a cause and an understanding that I need to live not here, I need to live here. Because why? Because my ego needs inflated? No. Because God's about to bless you here the way he did Peter. And in that moment, as Peter obeyed and put down his nets, the catch was so big that he had to call his friends over. Ladies and gentlemen, that moment, most people focus on the blessing of the fish. And I think that's okay, but I want to encourage you today to think beyond the blessing to the burden. Because at that moment, nothing in his life was ever the same. Because now he became a fisherman and a leader of men. Wow. It's that moment in your life where you may be leading here, but the opportunity and the blessing demands that I lead here. Are you with me? So don't leave. Most people, when you tell them the truth, they leave. They just duck out. They're going, oh, that's too tough. And I don't want to see you do that. So today, can we do ourselves a favor? Can we talk about potential? Can we talk about the enemies of your potential? Can we talk about your performance? Can I tell you, I want you to win, and I want you to win big, but I want you to understand the cost of winning. Wherever you're being blessed right now, somebody paid that price. Blessings are not free. Somebody labored and toiled and brought it. And now it's in your hands. And I think one of the problems in life is when all of a sudden we start to be blessed, and all of a sudden inside of us, we think, oh, this is because of something I did. No. I think there were people that worked before. So here's the question. I know I can win. I know I can perform. I know I can do more. I feel a calling for more. How do I get out of my own way? How do I stop self-defeating? How do I get the skills? How do I find the faith? How do I find the faith that says, you know what? I'm going to step into it just like my son just talked about. How can I find the faith to operate in a new way? You can see it as you look around the world right now. There's a lot of self-defeating behavior going on. It's in the movies. It's in the music. You see it right now. People start to succeed and then they fall. You see it in sports. You see it in ministry. You see it in business. Why is it? I've studied this for so many years because I not only wanted to study success, I wanted to study what caused people to fail. I wanted to see what caused people to cap out. And normally, it has to do with your ability to stop defeating yourself. The words you say to yourself, watch this, and the words you say to other people. I don't know if there's any greater indictment in life is to have somebody in front of you that is here. We're going to talk about this in a minute, but you treat them like they're there. You don't value them, you don't respect them, you don't love them. And here's what bothers most leaders. Can I come after it? You believe that familiarity breeds contempt. And in an immature mind, it is what happens. But actually, in a mature mind, they understand that when someone comes into your life, a spouse, a coworker, you actually should not value them less. You should value them more, because the more value you give to them is the more value they can pour into you. This is big. Some of you don't understand, but right now, your teammates, your mate in life, if you would treat them at another level, they would take you to another level. Just hear me, because God does what he does through people. He just does. So in your life, you start looking around. Well, why does this happen? And I'm going to give you a couple reasons. Number one is people don't feel like they deserve it. So they start feeling like, oh, I'm in over my head, so I got to do something to slow this down. And it's amazing because even in relationships, some of you right now are with somebody that honestly, they don't believe you love them and that you will keep loving them, so they keep trying to give you reasons to leave. Come on, stay with me. They say things, they behave ways that they just go, I just want to let you know, I'm going to protect myself so I don't ever get hurt, because I don't feel worthy of the love. That's why praise and worship is so incredible, because it shapes your heart and your spirit from one of saying, I'm not worth anything, to, God, you made me worth everything. Now, it's not an arrogance thing. It's a humility thing. The other thing of it is the opposite of true. Some people go, well, I'm so great, the rules don't apply to me. And it takes them out. They start transacting people. They start transacting the culture instead of moving into the culture what they should. I've got to get out of my own way. If God wants me to bless me here and I'm thinking here, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull God's blessing down to where I am. If you study revival in the earth, men have always taken what God did and drug it down to their level to control it. What happens if God wants to get you outside of yourself, bless you in such a way that honestly you can't take a moment's credit of it? And here's what bothers us, ladies and gentlemen. In life and marriage and in business, whatever I can't control, I'm against. And I try to find ways to discredit, dishonor, and to bring it down. Now, you and I could sit here for an hour and talk about this. What have I seen in my life of studying people, studying leaders, studying pastors, studying sports figures, studying all these people? What have I seen that causes them to self-destruct? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to give you 3. I wrote a book on this called How to Stop Self-Defeating Behaviors. It is probably the #1 book that I've ever written, because people want to know. They're hungry to know, how do I get out of my own way? How do I step in to the blessing? #1, put yourself around people that are same page people. Here's what I'm telling you. They need to be like-minded. How can 2 walk together unless they agree? The Bible warns us about being unequally yoked with unbelievers. And most people think that that's somebody that doesn't know Jesus. And I would say that's not a wise decision. But let me tell you, there are a lot of people that know Jesus that are still unequally yoked. They don't have the same dream. They don't have the same faith. They don't have the same understanding. And consequently, listen, the weakest person in any relationship will always control the relationship. Do you know how many big people there are in this world that hook themselves to somebody that would not help them become, and they've actually shrunk them? Now, today I can't go into it, but I can tell you how to deal with that. I will just tell you this point. If you're walking with somebody that doesn't see your value, doesn't see your greatness, don't shrink. Go on and obey. But don't get mad and don't dishonor. Let them enjoy the reward of your obedience, even if they're not obedient. Lead above it. It's a big word we talk about here at G5. Lead above it. Well, they did that. Lead above it. Well, they said that. Lead above it. Well, you're not going to believe what they did. Lead above it. Well, I can't believe they took advantage. I understand. Lead above it. Well, they transacted them. Lead above it. How many of you right now have issues in your business, in your life, and in your marriage that you just need to lead above it? Just decide today, I'm going to lead above it. So here's what I want to encourage you. Be careful that you don't get around people that have small minds. Small minds. How do I know if they have a small mind? They love negativity, they love to gossip, and they love problems. Matter of fact, they'll walk into a functional environment, and if it's functional, they'll try to create dysfunction so they feel comfortable. I'm going to tell you, write it down in big capital letters. Dysfunctional people do not feel comfortable in functional environments. Nor do functional people feel comfortable in dysfunctional environments. Now, we all are dysfunctional at some level. All of us got a little thing going on, okay? So I'm not saying that we're going to measure this out, but what I do want to let you know, be careful when you get around people that are negative, that honestly gossip, and they love problems. Here's why. You have no idea how quickly you can develop that mindset. The 5 closest people in your life is what you're becoming. The 5 closest people in your life is what you're becoming. And so I just want to encourage you. The reason that same page people are so critical is I'm going to give you 3 or 4 of them. But number one, the power of agreement is so incredibly important. Where there is no agreement, there is no unity. And where there is no unity, there is no power. Coach Riley said that teamwork requires that everyone's efforts go in the same direction. And when that happens, a feeling of significance happens in the life of the team. And when that happens, momentum sets in. So I would encourage you to go back and listen to that and ask in your company, ask in your team right now, do you have 5 people that have the same mind that you've got? You're always going to have the unbelievers. You're always going to have the low achievers. You're always going to have the people that want to come and play. But you're going to have some that are going to show up and go, it's time. It's time to go to work. So when you get around people, you need to ask this question. Okay? These questions. Can they see my gift? If they don't know your value, do you know how many people in relationships? By the way, you're going to find out that date night, leadership, the men's call, the ladies' call, you're going to find out that they're going to flow together, and we're going to keep coming at it from different angles so that we can have greater understanding, so that our performance and our blessing can be duplicated faster. So we're going to be very strategic about this. Can they see my gift? You don't know how many times in life I will walk up to people and I can see the question, because the question on everybody's mind is this: do you see me? And do you see my uniqueness? Do you see my gift? Now, most people don't know their gift. So when you first point out their gift to them, their calling, their destiny, it makes them uncomfortable. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful how strong and how quick you do this. But as God gifts you with this, you'll be able to see people's gifts, and they'll fight you on it. They'll fight you on it. I just want to know right now, do people around you see your gift, see your value, see your potential, see your anointing, and see your calling? By the way, at Elevate this year, we are coming after that. You don't want to miss it. I'm begging you. Your kids that are of age where they can understand, get them to this year. We're going to be talking about legacy and how to create legends. Right now, you don't wait till your kids are 20 to start pouring into them. Don't even start till they're 20 to start talking to them about relationships and marriage. Start when they're children. Because I told my wife last night, I said, man, my daughter, she's 21, Bree, she's incredible. Our son's 24. I told her, I said, I'm just telling you, we say all this stuff, but wait until you get all the information and then you get in the battle. Because everything changes. I read every book there was ever written on marriage before I got married. My problem was Gay was not in any of them. And she hasn't stayed in any of them. Her needs are so unique. I told a man on the phone today that was irritated about his wife. I said, let me tell you what's going to happen to you. What irritates you about your spouse, you're going to fall in love with. Because it's what's shaping you and making you and molding you if you can get out of the idea that I'm right. Understand and watch what happens. Tonight, I'm going to be speaking on, I believe, one of the most important things, and James comes after it because he talks about how to dissolve and how to undo conflict. Conflict is not what hurts you. It's unresolved conflict. So we're coming after that tonight. The second thing is you got to figure out, do they want me to succeed? Do the people in your life right now, do the people on your team right now, do they want you to succeed? Can they see your gift? Will they validate that? Can I tell you, if they don't see that, they don't want you to succeed. And what I found out in life is they don't mind if you succeed. They just don't want you to succeed too much. When you get the car that they were dreaming for that they can't have, now they're ticked. When you give the check that they can't give, now they're jealous of it. When you go on a vacation that they can't go on because you've done everything God's asked you to do, you've tithed, you've given, and God says, now have fun with the rest of it. Now we want you to be a great steward with it, but boy, that do they want you to succeed? The third question is, will they help me? How many of you know we need some help up in here? Right? You need some help on your team. You need some help in your company. I got my buddy Robert Belcourt listening to me today, man, and he's got a company called Cornerstone. And can I tell you, I love these people. They're on fire. There's a bunch of Italians, and they like to eat as much as I love. Can I tell you, I love hanging out with them. Like I love hanging out with my friends, Terry and T. You know why? Because they like good Southern food, sweet tea, baby. Come on. Can you tell I got a joy and a strength for food? Yeah, God's just gifted me with that. Will they help me? Not just do they want me to. There's a lot of people in life that can want you to, but will they help me? Very few people in life will help you. I was with a really dear friend of mine the other day, and he's pastored all over the world. And we were sitting in his car, and we were talking, and he said these words to me. He said, don't ever forget, Tim, that people are going to do exactly what's best for them. And when he said it, I'll be very transparent with you. I didn't give him the look like, I don't believe that. I understand in the world, I understand that a lot of people are that selfish. But I believe there are a group of people, I believe there's a remnant of people that actually will do what's best for God and will do what's best for other people. Now that's the highest form of leadership. Isn't it easy in life to do what's best for you? In the last 7 days, how many times did you do what was best for you? What you felt? How many times did you say, I'm too tired? How many times did you say, I don't feel like it? How many times did you say, I'm not going to go that far? I had somebody text me today, and they texted me yesterday, and I have been very busy. And they text me, oh my gosh, for the first time you didn't text me back. And I looked at the text, and truthfully, I laid my phone down because I was about to text something. I was about to text them how busy I am. You know what I'm talking about, leaders? And I just text back, wow, I'm praying for you. And I'm so grateful that God's got his hand on you. Now, can I tell you, I felt pretty good about myself because I led above it. And I did what was best for them, not what was best for me. There's a blessing waiting for you and I in this whole thing. So will they help me? The last one is, can they handle my success? If I win, can they handle it? See, here's what I know. Can I tell you what I know right now? I know some of you are being blessed, and some of the people around you are struggling with it. They're going, why did you get that door? Why did you get that opportunity? Why did that come to you? So you're just the little favorite? Watch that spirit inside of us that absolutely comes. Here's what I found out in life. A lot of people can deal with failure. Very few can handle success. In your life, same page people is more critical than you know. I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to shut down. Is that all right? And you can get the book. Just go to G5 Church. It's on there. We got to get it. I would encourage you to get it and go through your team with them. All right? The second one is when we see ourselves as a victim. If you see yourself as a victim, I just want to tell you, nobody in life can turn you into a victim, no matter what they've done to you, except you. And the problem with seeing yourself as a victim, it affects your self-esteem, and it causes you to go into the most expensive party in the world, and that's called a pity party. And it will hurt you more than you could ever imagine. I want to read this quote to you by John W. Gardner. Self-pity is easily the most destructive of all non-pharmaceutical narcotics. It is as addictive, gives momentary pleasure, and separates the victim from reality. Wow. You know this. You're not a victim. You know this in your soul. You're a victor. You know that in your heart, you don't need to blame others. You don't need to go out and put all the issues in your life on somebody else. I'm not downplaying the hurt, the pain, the abuse, the betrayal. I'm not downplaying any of that. I'm not saying you have not been mistreated. I'm just saying to you, I don't think Jesus ever saw himself as a victim. He was betrayed. He had all kinds of crazy stuff going on around him. But he shows us that, you know what? I'm not a victim. I'm a victor. Somebody needs to hear that right now. You need to hear that in your leadership. You need to hear that in leading others. If you're going to get here instead of stay here, you've got to get out of yesterday's thinking. You know this already. Your life is moving in the strongest thought that's in your mind. What has grabbed you? What has shrunk you to stay here instead of moving here? Are you a bad person if you stay there? No. You're just not reaching your potential. And your life will never know the abundance that you could know until you step in it. So here's what I want to encourage you to do. I want you to take responsibility. I want you today to say, nobody else is going to get the credit for my brokenness. I'm going to accept the fact that what they did cannot turn me into what they thought they were going to make me. I don't have to let you define who I am. So here's what you can do. You can step in and you can stop saying, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm single, it was my childhood, you don't know what they did to me, they overlooked me. Here's what I can tell you. You can rise. Hear me. You can rise above your circumstances. You can rise above your yesterdays. You can rise above what the enemy meant to harm you is actually going to turn in your favor. I'm telling you right now, you have got what it takes. You can rise above it. You got to make a decision right now as a leader. I'm going to rise above it. What you meant to do to harm me has actually elevated me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There were two men that asked. They were asked, two brothers, why did you turn out the way you did? Their answer was the same. Our dad. One had wasted his life in drugs, alcohol. His life was a mess. The other one rose up and started a railroad. When they asked these men why, they both answered, my father. I know we don't like this. I know we don't. But life is not what happens to you. Life is what you do with what happens to you. Jesus said because of the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross. What is it in your life right now that looks like it could turn you into a victim, that was meant to turn you into a victor? Can I tell you, the world doesn't want to hear about a silver spoon life. They want to hear how you got knocked down, but you got back up. They want to hear how you were on rock bottom when all looked like all hope was gone, and yet you stood up and you began to fight. What is it? Here's what I can tell you. Don't become a victim of yourself. Don't become a victim of yourself. I want to encourage you today, in closing, forget about the thief that's in the alley. Forget about the thief that's hiding in the dark alley. What I want you to do is think about the thief that's in your mind. I want you to think about the thief that came to kill, steal, and destroy. I want you to know there is a thief that wants to take you out, that wants to keep you low, that wants to keep your numbers down, that wants to keep you down. And I want to tell you, that thief has no power. If you will decide today, don't let anybody steal your dream. Don't let anybody take your heart. Don't let anybody take your value. Don't let anybody steal what's most important to you. I hope you will play this for your teenagers. I pray you will. I pray you'll get them this book for your teenagers and get it in their hands, because they need to understand right now they don't have to waste their lives. They can invest their lives. But I have to accept responsibility. I've got to. I've got to take responsibility, and I got to go, I'm not going to live this way any longer under circumstances. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go into this deep, but I want to tell you the third one is broken focus, because it is the number one reason people don't succeed. If you want to stay here instead of living here, just let your focus get broken. Just let somebody around you just take your life and bring the lack of clarity to it. Do you realize that 50% of the people that show up to work every day don't know what they're really supposed to accomplish? That's kind of scary, isn't it? You need to know exactly. You need to know exactly in your life. Can I give you some things if you run a company, if you're working in a place? Number one, you need to know who your customer is. Around G5 all the time, we continually remind ourselves of who our customer is. We know exactly who we're serving. We're serving the God of the universe, but we're serving his people. You got to know who your customer is. You got to know exactly who your customer is. What is their needs? What are their values? What do they care about? What are they hurt about? What in your life right now, who is your customer? The other one is, what is our mission? What are we going to accomplish together in the next 90 days? What are we working for? What are we working towards? What is it? If you don't see that clearly, you're going to lose hope. And I'm going to tell you what else you're going to lose: interest. You are not going to be any longer focused the way you can. In your life, I just want to encourage you to get your focus back. How do I get it back? Ask the right questions. Be with the right people. Get around the right opportunities. And watch what happens in your life. Ask yourself, where did I lose my focus? Ask yourself, why did I lose my focus? And then get your focus back. Get your focus back. This is why vision is so incredibly important. Because vision gives you the ability to see the future right now. And what separates you from everybody else in your life right now is your ability to see the future. And what future do you see? I close with this, leaders, because I find a lot of people right now living in fear, running in fear, just trying to figure out and ask the questions, how do I survive in this situation? I want to encourage you today with your team to sit down with them with a whiteboard and ask them this one simple question: what kind of future could we create together? What kind of future could we create together? What kind of family, what kind of company, what kind of a church, what kind of anything in life? What is it that you want to do? Don't ask the survival questions. Ask the thriving questions. Don't focus on the negativity. That's going to keep you where you are. That'll keep you right here. This question is the abundant question. What could God do if we believed him? What can we do as a team if we're filled with belief, if we care for one another, if we're on the same page, if we're focused, if we'll get out of our own way? Dream big dreams, guys. This is your moment. I'm proud of you. Rock on. Blessings.